You remember that very first announcement video that Wizards of the Coast put out for OneD&D? And one of the first things they made a point of saying was that we're not turning it into a video game. And well, they're not. For only $30 a month, you can have access to all the loot boxes that come out that month. So you can play in a virtual tabletop environment where an artificial intelligence will procedurally generate goblins and other monsters for you to face in a pre designed dungeon while you talk to your friends over a microphone. What? That's obviously not a video game. They totally aren't just trying to reinvent MMORPGs and make them even slower and more boring in the long run than the ones we already have. That's not what's happening. Hey, folks, it's your old pal King Waspinator. Welcome back to Total Party Skills. My original intention was I was going to respond to a comment this morning and talk a little bit about game mastering Palladium games, and that there's really not that huge of a difference between them and running Dungeons and Dragons or AD&D or any of those. The rule systems are very similar. One of the bigger challenges, you could say, is that it does require a different adventure design process. Because player characters are earning the bulk of their experience off of making plans and rescuing people while fighting random things in a basement. It doesn't get you that much more experience than just using your skills. So you could literally spend a weekend fixing a car and earn just as much experience as you would running around the city streets at night beating up street crime and stuff like that. But instead, the more leak news about the OGL and Wizards of the Coast coming out. $30 a month for D&D and beyond. AI generated dungeon mastering for lower tiers. Apparently, there's also going to be tiers of play. If you don't want to pay as much, you don't get as much, kind of a thing. Uh, hammering down, making sure no one else can have virtual tabletops, no other internet databases for D&D rules. Apparently, like DMs are gonna have to pay extra if they want to add their own NPCs and other homebrew inventions. The more I'm thinking about this, don't really see how the hell this is going to be at all functional in a fashion that's remotely like how D&D and role-playing games currently are. A thing that's always been a core focus of the marketing of the entire hobby of role-playing games themselves is the idea that this is based upon your shared imagination with your friends. You're describing things, you're picturing them in your head. Not everyone's going to see quite the same things. Some people might need a little bit more detail given to them so they can visualize it properly. But this is all supposed to be something that is actively engaging our mind and making us use that inner eye thing that's going on in there so we can have this kind of weird, dreamlike inner eye hallucination of these events as they're occurring as the game evolves. Uh, there's no way to recapture that in a virtual tabletop environment the way they're talking about doing it. They're not talking about it just being like, the current way people play online where, you have a dice rolling algorithm and you're all just basically on just a big shared Skype call talking with each other. Uh, like this just sounds like World of Warcraft or any number of games that already exist. That limitless imagination thing allows the game to take itself into pretty much any environment in any scenario, pretty much at the drop of the hat. Using a virtual tabletop environment with visual assets means that everything that you potentially are going to need to use in your adventure needs to be pre-laid out, and there's just not going to be resources for every last square inch of the game world. Are they going to recreate the entire surface area of Faerun so that you can actually really stretch your legs and go anywhere and do anything? No. No, we're looking at getting like another Skyrim, but Skyrim with chat functions, and it's all procedural based quests. Just gonna be a lot of fetch quests, or here's a monster at the end of the tunnel. Wow, how innovative and different from anything that we can already do right now. And $30 a month. Oh, that's so inclusive. We love inclusivity. We care a lot about people. That's just why we want to put an even higher paywall around stuff. 3 Netflix subscriptions a month. And no way, obviously, for people to share your accounts. And you better not say the wrong thing while in a chat function on our website, or you're going to get banned and all that money you spent went to waste. So you better behave while you play our watered down, not at all edgy, slow combat video game system that's so afraid of offending anyone that oh man. Oh man, it sounds like worse. Every time more information leaks out of the company, it just sounds worse and worse and more diluted. Like, are the people running the company literally insane and not just figuratively insane, that you're just saying they're insane because it's kind of fun? I mean, like, do they actually need medication? Do they need an intervention? Does someone need to sit them down with some friends and family in their living room and tell them that it's time for them to go to rehab and get a grip on their life? This, you, it. I don't know. I'm not really sure what really to compare it to. Like, the thing that's coming into my mind is like new Coke. Well, like, hey, look, guys, it has Coca-Cola on the can. It tastes completely different, but it says Coca-Cola on the can, so you like it, right? I feel like, like, we're calling it D&D, and you like D&D, so this is D&D, right? So you're gonna play it and give us $30 a month, right? Right? I mean, it only fundamentally changes everything about how role-playing games work, aside, I guess, from the actual basic rules mechanics so that the computers can use those, which they've already been doing. This is such a relaunch of something into a thing that already exists. We already have MMORPGs. End of story. This is so unnecessary, and compared to what the MMORPGs are already like, this sounds way worse and more annoying to play. We already have games where you can dress yourself up as a custom elf avatar and run around and talk to your friends on a chat headset and engage in procedurally generated and or pre-written quest lines. You're just not able to type in, like a few. I don't really. It sounds terrible. It sounds absolutely terrible, and I feel sorry for the suckers who are going to get drawn into this, thinking that they're going to be joining some hip, new, cool thing. It's all insane. I mean, the idea that, like, the D&D Honor Amongst Thieves is going to like be such like this draw for new people. We've had other D&D movies before, right? Do we remember how those went down and how they were received and how many people actually went to go see them? They weren't big smash successes. I mean, albeit they were kind of crappy. But aren't all movies crappy nowadays? So, even if it looks good, that doesn't, mean anything about whether or not you're actually going to have a good story out of it. And it just... Chris Pine? Really? You want to get the youth in there? Shouldn't you have cast someone like Billie Eilish or some shit? I don't know. It's all just really nuts. The sheer level of hubris that's on display, the short-sightedness, greed doesn't even really fit. Greed isn't a heavy enough word for what they're doing. It's absolute madness. They've gotten some just strange ideas in their heads, and they don't have enough people who are willing to actually push back against any of these ideas. Don't you know a lady heard someone recognize D&D at a cocktail party? That means everyone in America is going to want to give them $30 to play this boring-ass virtual video game. Because a lady heard someone say at a party that they recognized what D&D was. I mean, it's only been around for 50 years. I mean, it's not like there's any number of random reasons why someone might have heard the name D&D. It's because it's just so hot a brand and everyone's eager to get onto it. It's not because the kinds of people who are at a cocktail party who are business executives of computer companies have a high likelihood of at some point having been geeks themselves in their youth, or perhaps have a geeky child, and that's why this random person at a cocktail party had heard of D&D. No, it's because it's just so fucking culturally relevant. It's going to be the next Avatar, guys. Oh my god. Oh, gonna make so much money. Oh, so much money. Well, I guess in the spirit of the new, uh, template that the role playing game community is now jumping into, I guess I'm gonna need all my subscribers to give me $30 by going to Drive Through RPG and buying some stuff of mine, or get the fuck out. Like, we don't want you. You're not worthy of the content if you're not willing to pay continuously for the content. Whatever. Anyway, like I was saying, it's really not that big of a deal to run Palladium games. Don't let all the combat rules intimidate you. They're kind of a red herring. And I guess that's all I had to say about that. Until next time, stay waspinated.